Hello, Jaden. Hello, family. Um, Hello, dad side of the family. Y'all are both family. And I guess hello to I guess any of my friends that watch this. I don't know. I might send it to them. I don't feel like I will, because to be honest, they really don't need to know this. But hello to y'all if you end up somehow on this video, anyways. um, right now I'm making this video because it's like 4 o'clock right now. It is, yeah, it's 4:04 right now. And I've been at this computer science project for about a good 40 minutes, and it's really annoying me because I can't figure out this one problem. I feel like if I figure out this one problem, it'll get me through the entire project. But it's like you miss a little comma somewhere, you miss like the smallest comma or like the smallest period or the smallest like parentheses, and the entire project just goes to nothing, right? Um, I really hate computer programming. I hate it all. They say like if you're good at like the STEM category like science, technology, education? No, engineering and mathematics, you'd be good at like programming. It's completely the opposite with me. I'm terrible at it. Um, so salute to everybody who's like genuinely good at it because y'all deserve way more respect than you get. Um, and my lips look extremely white under the light, but that's besides the point. um, So as I was scrolling through my Instagram, ironically, after last week's video, let me move my. So as I was scrolling through my Instagram from last week's, I not last week. Um, I was just scrolling through my Instagram yet today. Um, I'm still. I don't want to say I'm friends with all the people that I met um, during my time at the brick and mortar back in Plymouth meeting. But I still keep up with them for the not for the most part, but I keep up with my one friend still to this day. I'm saying still to this day, like it's been 7 years. Fam, it's been like 4 months. He's a senior in high school, and I'm a freshman. Because again, I skipped a grade, and he stayed in that same grade. So I guess I'm a grade above him, but I'm a year younger than him, which is hilarious. Um, but and he's white, but um, like I said, I don't keep up with all my other friends like I do with him because they weren't really my friends, like in hindsight. So um, I think I've tried making this video before, but I think it was one of the first days I guess I started making YouTube videos. I think it'd be cool if I started calling myself a YouTuber now. I think because then again, like that would kind of be my second part of success, right? I didn't always want to become a YouTuber, but I thought it'd be a cool little job to have, right? Um, just like speaking on camera. I thought it'd been better had I like been like the guys that play games and also made like commentary while doing it. But I definitely do not have that kind of setup, nor will I honestly, because I actually have a career set out for me now, so I don't really feel the need to go into that type of lifestyle. But as I was saying, so this video is kind of going to be towards um, like white school districts. I'm just going to keep it blunt, like white school districts, and why I definitely don't like them, nor will my kids ever be near it when I have kids, obviously. Um, I think, like I said, I think I tried making this video before when I first started making YouTube videos, but in like those first couple of days, which was like 2-3 weeks ago, I think, I was like I wasn't sick, but I definitely had the sniffles, and y'all did not want to hear, uh, I'm saying y'all, but I definitely didn't want to hear myself, all, uh, gross like that, right? And I gotta get away from this light because my lips look crazy right now. So, um, I'm sure I've said this in countless videos, but I grew up in a suburban, I grew up like as a suburban. Is that the right term? I grew up as a suburban child almost all my life, really all my life. I mean, I've only lived in the city, South Philly, Norristown, I guess. Those aren't really cities. Those are just kind of like urban places, I guess. It's not really a city because South Philly is, but Norristown, there's not much to do in Norristown. Like it's not really active. I guess it's just urban, right? Like it's like the inner city. Um, I don't even know if it's inner, but it's definitely like it's like for lower income families. Um, and I've only lived in South Philly and Norristown combined for like 2.5 years, I think. So, subtract that off the 17 years of age, and I've been a suburban child for a good 15 years of my life, right? So, back in Jersey, when I lived in Jersey, I lived in Rahway. That's what I can remember. I don't remember my time in Edison or Elizabeth or any of the other cities, but Rahway, those aren't cities, but those are also towns, suburban towns. But in Rahway, which is also another town, um, I used to go to a school. Obviously, I was like what 5? No, like 4 or 5, I think. 4 or 5, and I used to go to a school, obviously. And, it was a pretty mixed community. Like there was a lot of black people. I don't remember too many white people, but it was a very mixed community. Um, Maybe not very mixed, but it was way more mixed than Plymouth Meeting ever was, right? Um, so it was cool, like seeing people that were my color. It was really really nice. Then when we moved to PA, our first two locations that we moved to were South Philly and um, both South Philly and Norristown. And again, two very mixed communities. If not, there was more people of color. There was more black people, more Hispanics. Um, I mean, I didn't see too many Indians, but I'm sure there were some. Um, Brown people, I should say. I should just say brown. Um, there was, it was a fair amount. You didn't actually see too many white people, really. Um, and definitely in Norristown, there was a lot of Jamaican people in Norristown, which I think is actually kind of cool, right? Um, it's like how like there's a Chinatown in a lot of places. It was like Norristown was like a Jamaican town, right? A lot of curry, a bunch of curry. Um, little Jamaican joints, like corner stores. It was really cool. I liked it. Um, and then after Norristown, we moved to Plymouth Meeting. Um, and that was where I spent the latter half of my academic career. Um, Plymouth Meeting was a huge jump for me. Was a huge jump for me, and I mean I didn't recognize it at first, but the more I delved into my life, I was like I really should not be here. Um, I should definitely not be here. So I think this is definitely going to be one of the more important videos that I make because it was things like these that really shaped me to be who I am now. And I still haven't even figured myself out fully, but this was definitely a huge jump from here to there. So as I said, I moved there in third grade, um, and there was a lot of white people, a lot of white people. Um, like I said in the video that I made for Katie, I said there's a lot of white girls, but I mean just in a general sense, there's a lot of white people. Um, and I didn't think much of it, other than the fact that I was the only white kid or the only black kid in all my classes from third up until like sixth grade. I was the only black kid in my class. Um, it wasn't terrifying. It was just kind of like it wasn't necessarily polarizing. It was just more so like how do I make my way here? Like I'm not used to this, right? I mean, I did end up making friends. I mean, third grade friends wasn't much, but I made friends. Um, in fact, at the time, I was kind of like the leader, right? It was very interesting. It was a very interesting time for me. I remember back in fifth grade, um, I was actually kind of popular. The more that I think about it, back in like like a little bit in between middle school and like fourth, fifth grade, like fourth up until seventh grade, I was kind of like decently popular. I was like the leader of like the nerd community. It was so weird. Um, yeah, yeah. But regardless, so back in fourth, fifth grade, I was kind of like a leader of like the friend group that I made. Um, we were all nerds and such, but they were all white. Um, so I couldn't really connect with them outside of school. Really, like I couldn't really like there was not much to talk about other than school. And also I was kind of like I wasn't antisocial, but I was still introvert. Even being a leader, you could still be an introvert, right? Like I didn't want to really go out and hang with them, because I was like, it's better being alone, honestly. Um, I could just play on my Xbox, right? And that's what I did. So, fourth, fifth grade was really a sweep for me. I didn't really care. Um, if y'all ever seen the movie Lemonade Mouth, where uh, they made the name Lemonade Mouth because they were all drinking lemonade or something. I don't know. So, notice lemonade is a drink and then mouth is a body part. So, in fifth grade, um, I decided to do the same thing. So I grouped up with a bunch of people. It was like, I don't remember. It was at the time at the first of it. At the beginning, it was about like five of us. It was like three guys, two girls. Um, and, we were cool. And then someone suggests that we come up with a name. So then I think the day after I watched Lemonade Mouth, and I was like I had like a mind explosion. I don't know what they call it. And then I came up with the name. I came up with the name Soda Heart. Oh my! I came up with the name Soda Heart because soda is a drink and a heart is a body part. And we ran with it for like the entire year. That was ridiculous. I don't know who greenlighted that, but we were all like 9 and 10 years old, so we all thought it was like the dopest thing in the world. And then turns out it kind of was because it was five of us, and then we came up with the name, and then we started like hanging out as a crew. And then I think at like the end of it, like there was like 15 or like 20 of us at a certain point in time, where they just kind of like associated with us. But yeah, we were like a mafioso of like we were a mafioso of fifth graders. Um, so that was a thing. And then sixth grade and seventh grade, that those were like the those are like the times where I kind of understood like what was really happening, right? So sixth and seventh grade, a lot of the people from because there's plenty of elementary schools, and then we all converge into one middle school. So from the different elementary schools, there were tons of other kids coming, mainly white, but there were some black kids, there were some brown kids, I didn't see too many Hispanic people or Latinx, but there was some brown kids, there were a lot of Asian kids, um, and like I said, there were a lot of brown kids. So, or not a lot, but there was a few here and there. So, um, like throughout my time being in like the 4 or 5 school, fourth and fifth grade, I would notice like there'd be some black jokes happening here and there, but I didn't think too much of it because, fourth, fifth grade was what, 8, 9 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, and 7, 8 years ago was what, 2013? No, yes, wait, what? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Wait, somewhere around that time, is what I'm trying to say, and we were all like 8 and 9, so people were very ignorant. I mean, obviously, because we're kind of, I was 9. I was 9 turning 10 in fifth grade. Something. I was a year younger than I should have been, is what I'm trying to proclaim. Um, and some kids, they would throw out like sexist, racist jokes. Um, and I could say back then they probably didn't have the intention of trying to hurt someone's feelings. Um, because I mean, we were still very ignorant. We were still very impressionable as 10 year olds, right? Um, and I didn't really think much of it because I would kind of fire back with the same, white people jokes, right? Um, or just how stupid they were, right? Like I really didn't care. Because also back in the 4 or 5 school, they had like a gifted and talented program, and I was in that program, so I was like, all right, well, y'all are just dumb, so I don't really care. Um, stuff like that. Um, but then in the 6th and 7th grade, there wasn't really a gifted and talented program. I don't think. I don't think so. No, there was, but it wasn't really like no one really cared for it as much as they did like in the 4 or 5 school. Um, and there's a lot more people because all the elementary schools kind of combined into one. So there are a lot more people. We were all getting older. We were all getting, we were slightly getting mature. Um, and things were happening. So like stuff that really stuck out to me was definitely when we read. It was 6th grade, and we read "Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry." um, I gotta say, that was a terrible time for me. Um, "Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry." It's a good book. Don't get me wrong. The book is amazing. Um, it's the fact that I was the only black kid in that class. Um, I sat in the back. Well, that didn't really do much, but just for context, I sat in the back. Um, and our teacher didn't read it out loud because it had the N word in it, right? So, and she was white, so although I kind of had the notion that she would read it out loud had I not been in the class, but I don't want to delve into that because I liked her as a teacher. She was a cool teacher. She was one of the better teachers that I had. Um, it was just I feel like if there was only white kids in the class, then she wouldn't mind. But again, that could just be my uh, that could just be my ignorance playing a part. Not ignorance, but whatever the word is. Um, but regardless, she read it through an audiobook. Um, and whenever the N word would show up in the book, and the audiobook read it, almost all the entire class would turn their seats and look at me and see how I would react to it. And I would I wouldn't know how to respond. I didn't really care. I didn't care for it cuz fam, I'm black. I hear the word, I know what it is. I know what it stands. I know what the context is behind it. Okay. But then once they look back at me, then it's well, how do y'all want me to respond? What do you want me to do about it? Um and that would make me super uncomfortable. That would make me extremely uncomfortable. Um, so we read the book. I think the audiobook finished it in maybe a couple days. In those days, whenever they would say the N word, the whole class would look back at me and expect me to respond in some way. But I didn't because I just didn't care. You can be black and not care about the N word. I mean, at the time, because like I said, I didn't, and even still to this day, I don't really care about politics like that. If you're gonna say it, the context shouldn't be bad behind it. And if you're white, you should know that that's just not a word you should be able to that you can say without any backlash. That's kind of on you. That's your, you should be kind of precautious about that word, anyways. But regardless, I didn't really care. But when they would look back at me, then I would be like, "What are you guys looking at?" You know, and that'd make it really uncomfortable. And then, um, the ignorant racist jokes started to come into fruition a lot more than usual. Um, just throughout. It wasn't directly after Roll of Thunder, but it was just as people got older, 7th grade, stuff like that. And I'd be like, for what? There was no need to even bring that up, right? We weren't even talking about anything that would regard you to say that. Why would you say that? It'd be stuff like that. Um, so middle school came about, and I was like, well, okay. Um, Like, what are they doing this for? Like, do they have some sort of agenda behind it? I didn't really tap into it that much because after 7th grade, I moved into online school. Um, but another thing that I should bring up, and this is why, like, this is one of the major reasons why I would never want to have my kids or anyone else that's related to me to ever have to go through this. But like, and again, I'm not gonna bring up. This isn't like new information. What I'm saying is not like I'm making new discoveries, but like when you're in a specific society and you stay in that specific society, you're going to act like that society. You stay with you stay with a certain group of people that drink alcohol. You're gonna drink alcohol. You stay with a certain people. You hang with like people that uh go to church. Then you're gonna be like, okay, I wonder what it's like at church, and you're gonna go to church. You might not stay, but you're gonna go in it, right? You stay with a certain group of people, you're gonna end up being like them, right? Um, your friends are kind of a reflection of who you are, right? So again, I used to hang around white people, white nerdy people. Um, I used to hang around white nerdy people. They used to say kind of like, ignorant jokes against black people. I'm not saying that I participated in that, but I didn't, it's not like I retaliated, but I almost thought it was me turning the other cheek, but at the same time, I wasn't turning the other cheek. I would just kind of play along with it, right? I would laugh when they do it. It was like I was playing mammy, or whatever the saying is when like, like when the black person just like plays along to the white people's ignorance, whatever that phrase is, playing mammy, or like, I was being like an Uncle Tom or something like that. Um, and I own up to it because once I transitioned to online school and I was really just with me and myself, myself and I, like I started to like think back to the times in like 6th and 7th grade where all this stuff started to happen and how I kind of transitioned into being myself, into becoming like this. I didn't, I'm not going to say that I disowned being black, but it was like, what's the word? What's the word? Because I'm not saying that I didn't want to be black. And it's not like I wanted to be white either. Because I remember something that really stood out to me. I remember, because I found out, my last name is Reddick, but I found out from my dad that our family name used to be Flournoy. So I looked it up, and it had like a French background to it. And at the time, I was so excited. I didn't understand why. But then it was really crazy. I was really really naive and stupid like back then because it used to have a French background to it. So then I would go around, telling people that like my not my slave owners are white, but it was like I kind of like hinted at the notion that I was like part white myself. And like thinking back on that to like when I was in online school and stuff, like that's kind of what made me like sad. I was like really starting to learn that like, you know, I wasn't an Uncle Tom, but I was definitely like I was like the Terry Crews. Like, like if people know what like Terry Crews is doing nowadays, where he's like kind of playing like the white side, not the white side, because Terry Crews will always be black. Black people shouldn't be disowning other black people based on who they are. That's not right. That's also not right, because black people aren't monolithic creatures. We can be whoever we want and still be black. We can be emo goth and still be black. We can wear Crocs and still be black, because you know who you are. But what I'm saying is, I myself kind of disowned being black, to an extent, not entirely, but to an extent. Um, I would be like, I used to play Minecraft a whole bunch back at like the end of 7th grade, the beginning of 7th grade, and a whole bunch in online school. And people didn't even know who I was because I was in online school, right? But definitely on Minecraft. It wasn't in online school because you'd have to show your face at some point, right? But back in Minecraft, I used to tell people that I was like, half black, half white. And, I'm definitely not half white at all. Um, but it was stuff like that that really made me sad. It wasn't really the process of me losing friends, because still, even to this day, I'm still kind of antisocial. Like, to this day, I'll still walk up the stairs if I see someone behind me trying to go into the elevator. Like, I'm not even like, I understand that like that's not good, but at the same time, it's like that's just who I am, right? But I'm definitely not half white. Like, that's not who I am, right? Um, and that's what kind of got me sad back in online school. It was like finding out who I was back then. Um, so then in online school, when I started to realize all that, all the bad stuff, then it was like, well, I should definitely change. I kind of had like a reawakening. No, I had an awakening. I had an awakening because I think my reawakening started when I, started this whole YouTube shtick, right? But I had an awakening. Um, I think I was reading the biography, the autobiography of Malcolm X. I still didn't finish it. I was reading it 3, 4 years ago, and I still haven't finished it yet. Um, I did watch the movie though, but that's not enough. That's not doing it justice. Um, I was rewatching, or I was reading the autobiography of Malcolm X. He was talking about how like, um, what was he talking about? He was talking about like how he would do certain things, but like it was like before he became Muslim, or I guess before he got spoken to by Farrakhan, not Farrakhan, whoever it was. I gotta reread that because that's a shame. But regardless, I was reading it and he was kind of saying, a lot of the stuff performed by the black man is done for the white man anyways. It's like we're still into slavery. Like we're still kind of being enslaved, which I definitely believe. Incarceration is modern day slavery. Like, and again, this isn't new information. I'm sure everybody that's black kind of knows this, right? Um, Incarceration is modern day slavery. Like, um, stuff like that. It's like we're still practically being enslaved, but it's played off as if we're free. We're not free at all. Like, there, I shouldn't be scared to go outside in Plymouth meeting after 9:30 at night. I shouldn't be scared of that. Like, I'm not scared of it. I wasn't scared, to go outside. I mean, I wasn't allowed, but like, if my mom like ever, told me to like do something at like 10 o'clock at night in like Norristown or South Philly, I wouldn't care if, obviously if I had a parent with me because I was like 8. But like, if she would ever, like, if I would need, I didn't want to like walk to the mall at like 9:30 at night in Plymouth meeting because there was only white people there. There was only white cops. Like, I was genuinely scared for my life, stuff like that. And that shouldn't be the case if we're living in the land of the free. Like, it's clearly not free. It's free for the white man and the white man only. Um, or just if you're rich, right? It's free for either the rich or the white. Um, but regardless, what I'm trying to say is that, so in online school, um, I kind of awakened. I kind of realized I was, I was doing the dirty. I was doing not doing the dirty, but I was clearly acting as someone not who wasn't black, but kind of disowned being black, right? Um, and that's when I was kind of depressed a little bit. But like I said in the other video, um, people, at least I kind of skimmed through it. People mature faster when they're in a depressive state of mind. So, like I said, through that awakening, I kind of, kind of recognized some things, and I kind of recognized that, it was like I kind of became a better version of myself. It was going to take some time to complete, and it's still taking time, but here I am, right? Um, I genuinely feel like I'm living life. I'm living my best life right now. Thanks be to God, number one. But I truly feel like I'm living my best life. And I felt like I had to go through that. Like, it's not trauma. It's definitely not trauma. But I definitely had to go. I had to live in that terrible white school district, for a reason. I definitely did. Um, and after online school, I came back to that same school district for 11th and 12th grade. Met back with some of my old friends. And the same stuff was happening. Like, they would say the same ignorant jokes, the same ignorant racist jokes, and it's like, y'all are a year older than me. Y'all are 17. Because I came back, I was no, they were 16. Because I was 15 at the time when they came back. I was 15 years old, and they were like I don't wait. Was I? No, I was 14. Yeah, I was 14, turning 15. So I came back 11th grade, 14 years old, turning 15, 15 turning 16, senior year, and then freshman 16 turning 17. I'm 17 now. Yeah, so I came back, I was 14. Some of them were already 16, some of them were 15. And because I came back 11th, they were in 10th. I was like, y'all are legitimately 16, 15 years old. I'm 14. And somehow I feel like I'm older than y'all. Like, can y'all grow up? I didn't say it to him, but it was like I was thinking that in my head for the longest amount of time. So I didn't like necessarily split up with them because I was still kind of undergoing the rough state of mind. I was still feeling lonely, so I kind of still hung out with them, which was a fault on my end because you shouldn't have to hang out with people that you don't find funny, or that you just don't find as friends, right? Um, Still kind of hung out with them. Um, and it was still a bad time, but it wasn't nearly as bad as it was ninth, 10th grade. Um, but I still hung out with them, I guess. And then 11th and 12th grade was when I got diagnosed with epilepsy. And they started to make fun of that. Like, that kind of threw me for a loop. It threw me for a crazy loop because I won't even lie. Back when I was younger, I used to make fun of people, if they had like disabilities or something like that. I was a very ignorant child, I was a very, very ignorant child. I mean, it wouldn't be like to the extent that they were doing it, but it was like, if someone was in a wheelchair, I'd make a joke about them not being able to walk, even that's still ignorant. Um, and that was terrible. I think I would, like, in hindsight, yes, that's awful. At the time, I thought it was funny. I mean, look, don't get it twisted though, because my humor is still there, but obviously, the joke doesn't have, it has a terrible taste to it, right? That's besides the point. What I'm trying to say is that, um, they were still like those same sixth graders that they were now in 10th grade, and it was like, y'all don't grow up. So I had to split away from them. Um, and it was very bad because in 10th, or in the high school, that's when they opened up a lot more clubs, um, and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, well, I'm really awakening myself to become the black man that I really should be. So at first, I wanted to join the Black Cultural Awareness Club because I was like, okay, well, there's a lot more people my skin color that will kind of understand me. Um, and I'd be like, okay, so I can maybe fit in now. Finally, after 12 years, I can maybe fit in. Right, 12 years, yeah. So this is also where things were, it was very eye opening for me here too, because it reminded me of that one Earl Sweatshirt song. What is it, Chum? Where he's like, I'm too black for the white kids, but I'm too white for the blacks. Um, so if you can't hear, I have a decently what's the word? What's the word? I have a decently well pronunciation of my words, and I mean, God gifted me with intelligence, so my vocabulary is above average, I can say. And I speak properly. I do. Um, I speak properly. Like, I'm not just gonna avoid that. Um, I speak properly, and I guess I spoke too properly for them. Cause they instantly, like, the people that ran the club, they didn't directly, like, they didn't outwardly just, like, push me off to, like, the other white kids that were also nerdy, but, I could tell by their actions, they just kind of lumped me in with them, right? um and, that made me feel away, because I was like, y'all are black, like, why don't y'all take me in? Like, if there was anyone to take me in, wouldn't it be your own race? And apparently not. So I was really kind of still alone back in 11th and 12th grade, because I hung out with friends, but I was still lonely. Tried to join a club with my actual, not with my race of people, but, with the actual black population of the school. They wouldn't allow me in. Um, they would like indirectly shun me, really. Because I guess I wasn't. And they think the craziest, mind-boggling thing for me is, like, so I lived in Plymouth Meeting, the whitest town of all time. I can say that without a doubt. Without a doubt. I don't care what city you bring me in Kansas or, like, Arkansas. Plymouth Meeting is the whitest city of all time. And so the people from the Black Cultural Awareness Club. So I should give you guys context. So indirectly, you live in a white school district with a bunch of white kids. They're going to indirectly judge black people. They're going to indirectly judge people of their own race. They're going to indirectly judge people of all races, and lump them into just a group. So the black people in our school were grouped into two separate categories. Either you were from the hood, or you were just a nerdy, black guy, or a nerdy black person, right? And I was, given, my traits. I was a nerdy black guy. I'm sure even if I wasn't, like, in the gifted and talented program, just off my glasses, I'd be a nerdy black guy. I'm sure, because they were just all ignorant and stupid. So I was placed into the nerdy black guy, and then what pissed me off even more. So I'll get back into why, the black community pissed me off, but so I was placed into, like, indirectly. I was indirectly placed into, like, the nerdy black guy, nerdy black person category of people. And then it ticked me off because the white people in the school called me a white man. Like, who are y'all to call me that? Like, your name is Jeffrey, spelled Geoffrey. Like, who are you to tell me that I'm white, bruh? Like, what are you talking about right now? What are you talking about, Geoffrey? What are you talking about? But regardless, they would call me that. It used to really annoy me back in, like, 6th and 7th grade, but back when I came back in 11th and 12th, I was like, all right, Geoffrey, whatever. Just get it off then. I don't really care. So, so white people calling you white, that really annoyed me. But another thing that annoyed me is that the black people kind of took into those two roles. I don't understand, like, this kind of defeats the purpose of a black cultural awareness club if you can't understand the culture, because they lumped the black people themselves into the two categories. Like, they went along and played along to the white man's hand. Like, yes, either I was a nerd or I was just from the hood. The hood was Conshohocken. Conshohocken is just a mixed community. Conshohocken is just like Rawway. Like, Conshohocken is not much of anything. The only thing that's different is that it was maybe like a good 10% more black people in that city, in that town. Like, there was nothing hood about it. Like, yes, there were people from, like, Norristown, or, like, I think there's a couple from, like, Pottstown, but like y'all are not from the hood. Because y'all speak and it annoyed me so much, because, like, you can see clearly through these people. Like, fam, you did not speak like that when you were born. You acquired that Philly language, bro. Like, you did not speak like that when you were born. You didn't say water like that. Like, fam, you say water, and then you started saying water. Like, that's not you. That's just not you. Like, you're putting on a facade to like, for what? For what purpose? So, again, I was apparently too white for the blacks, but too black for the whites. So, I ended up being alone. I ended up being alone, but at that time, I really didn't care that much anymore because I was just trying to get on, move to Cheney, and really be around the black people, and they really took me in, right? Um, so the whole point of it, what I'm trying to say is that I hated every little bit of that school district after my transition into seventh into ninth grade, because that's when I, really started figuring out. I mean, I'm not gonna say the school district made me that way, but it definitely led me towards down that path. Like it said, here you go, here's the path, go down it. Like that's what it did. Because the people in that school district, they lump you into two categories, whether they like it or not. That's just what it is. Like, and that's really with any society. They're gonna indirectly judge you into like a category. They're gonna put you in a box, and then whether you kind of like it or not, unless you're just some extraterrestrial creature, you're not gonna have to be in that box, but you're gonna end up kind of being in that box, whether you know it or not. That's kind of what it was. Like there, like in the high school, there was a lot of other black people that I saw, but a lot of them weren't even nerdy. But a lot of them kind of ended up hanging with the nerdy people because they were just like, you wear glasses, you bring like a Nintendo Switch from your house here, so you must be a nerd then, huh? It's like you kind of see them lose like their cultural, you kind of see them lose that like cultural touch that they had with all the other black people. You kind of see them like that painting with like God and Adam trying to reach each other. Like that's kind of, I'm not about to compare God to like two black people, but like you see them like splitting apart. What I'm trying to say, like even with like some of like the Hispanic people, like I had a friend, he's half Hispanic. I mean, he looks white, but like he's half Hispanic. But like when he first transferred in, because he transferred in sixth grade, and I was like one of his closest friends at that time, and he seemed pretty decent about being like Hispanic, but like when I came back, from in 11th grade, and I saw him, like this man looked like a legitimate, like it's not just the way he looked, but it's like the way he acted. He acted as if he was, and I hate saying it because like I just try to denounce that whole, the whole principle of, saying that you're white if you're not white. But it's like it seemed like he was going through the same thing I was going through, where it's like he was trying to denounce himself being Hispanic, right? Like that seemed to be what it was, and I just hate to see that happen because it's like you have so much potential culture, and then you're gonna lose it because you're just in this white society. Like that's just what's gonna happen, bro. Like white people, like I hate to be the guy that just hates white people, but it's like clearly like these type communities aren't meant for us. They're just not. They're just not. Like when I have children, I'm gonna keep them. Well, matter of fact, I'm gonna go back to New Jersey, but I'm gonna go. I might even go back to live in Rahway. Live back in my hometown. And it's like keep them where they're supposed to be. I don't care if it's suburban, as long as it's a mixed community and they see people that looks like them. That's all that matters, right? You know, because the things that are really, important are relationships. And you can't just hang out with white people, like if you're not white, because it's like, fam, what are you gaining out of that, right? Like, let's be honest. Like, think about it. Um, and it's like it's not the best. It's just not the best. At least from my experience, it left a bad taste in my mouth. Um, like I said in that Earl Sweatshirt song, he was too black for the white kids and too white for the blacks, right? And it's like I like and it's so weird because like some days I wish that I went back to that school district, but like there was nothing good in there for me. Like I don't understand why I sometimes dream about going back to that district. I don't know. It's just, it's a good school district, but it's not a good school district if, I mean, I'm just gonna keep it a buck. It's not a good school district if you're a person of color. Like, it just isn't. That's just how it is. Like, it really is not. Um, but I mean, to each his own. You know, this is just a 17-year-old opinion. Um, you know, and it's like, how much more do I know, really? Again, just take it with a grain of salt. It's a 45-minute video. You know, I know a lot. Like, I'm glad that I actually kind of make these videos long, because I'm pretty sure my family won't watch them. And, you know, the only people that'll watch them is me. So, you know, hey, Jaden in 2050, or whenever you're going to watch this, you know, this is, I don't know. I don't know how to end this. It's just, hey, I guess. Yeah, so that was my, kind of a rant video. Um, and, yeah, so there's that video, and, back to computer programming, I guess I go off to. Alright, peace.